Hello Yu-Gi-Oh players and welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! In Business Casual. I'm your host, the RJB0. First off, I apologize for any windy noises coming from my computer. It's busy exporting the video I uploaded for you guys yesterday. Wait, what? It's processing a video that I already uploaded? What's going on? Well, as you guys probably already noticed, I'm wearing the same clothes as I did in yesterday's video, which means that I uploaded this video at the same, or I made this video at the same time, or on the same day that I uploaded my January 2014 discussion video. But wait, there's more, because I didn't actually make these videos yesterday. I'm making these videos on Sunday. I just blew a whole bunch of minds. Anyway, my schedule's been really busy, and it's been obnoxious trying to upload videos today in particular. So I've been spreading these out over the time travel talk is very difficult to do with tenses. Anyway, moving on, what I really want to discuss today are academic decks. Now, the things that I need to talk about are what the hell are academic decks, why are they important to business casual Yu-Gi-Oh!, and what they can do for you as a player. Now, there are two things that academic decks can be besides sounding extremely pretentious. There are two ways that you can describe an academic deck. On the one hand, you have decks that are academic. These are decks that tend to have powerful plays, but in order to beat your opponent, they absolutely require you to outplay your opponent no matter what. These are decks like, to a degree, I think the most recent really academic deck that we've seen be in the top tier is Dino Rabbit. You know, you can open really well with the rabbit and back row and stuff. But in the end, once you put that on the board, it really comes down to outplaying your opponent. The other thing about academic decks is they tend to be stun-based or control-based. They're never really things with any whacked-out combos. Their combos, if they have any real combos to speak of, tend to be two-card combos, like you put a monster on the board and you use a spell or trap card with that monster and it creates a combo that creates some sort of advantage, or you use two monsters or something like that. They tend to be based around two-card combos. And one of the most important things in determining whether a deck is academic or not is once you have your play set up, do you have a set number of resources? Do you have an observable amount of resources? What I mean by that is, like, take Dino Rabbit for instance. Dino Rabbit is, once you put that rabbit and that Logia or Dolka on the board, you have a set number of resources. You know what you have available to you because you have it sitting in front of you. You've got your Xyz monster, you've got your back row, and you have to be able to utilize those things, those set number of resources, to beat your opponent, as opposed to something like Wind Up or Dragon Wars, where there's a lot of invisible advantage, I like to call it, where your resources aren't necessarily like right there in front of you. That's a real trait of an academic deck. Now that's just one way to put it, and you've got a lot of decks like that out there. Goat Control was very much an academic deck back in its day. In fact, people use it today in order to improve their skill in the mirror match. Another thing about academic decks is they tend to be pretty skillful. People will complain about Dino Rabbit all they want, but in the end you have to realize that you have to be able to outplay your deck. There's very little derp or sack factor to an academic deck. Once again, you can get those like 1 in 100 hands where it's like, oh, I win based on that, but it's much rarer that you have a hand like that in an academic deck than a more high combo based deck. The other use for the phrase academic deck is a deck that you throw together in order to play on a competitive level that does, but more importantly, to improve your skill as a player and to test out just some mind game theory and to just test your building powers. And there's a degree of both of those in using them for business casual play. Now, making an academic deck for yourself is actually relatively easy. What you do is you take an engine that creates advantage with some semblance of speed and some semblance of consistency, and you give it a modest win condition. That's all it really needs, and you add some anti-meta cards on top of it, and that's generally how you make an academic deck. One of my favorite ones that I've ever seen was a Dark Scorpion deck. It was very academic. It used macros, and then you use the basic mechanics of Dark Scorpion, which is inflicting battle damage to your opponent. So you'd use things like Shrink and Lance and stuff like that in order to shrink your opponent's monsters' attacks down so you can deal some damage and discard some cards or destroy some cards or add cards from your deck to your hand. It was a very cool deck. Anyway, all you really needed was to throw together some Dark Scorpion cards, which you knew could add advantage because you can. One, Donzalu discards cards, Cliff the Trap Remover destroys cards, and Mene the Thorn searches cards, so that has an engine to it, and all you need is from there is the win condition, which tended to be what your mirror forces when you blasted their board and you just attacked with all of them for game. Another great example of an academic deck of very similar style is the Jurak Dino Thunder deck that's been running around. It doesn't have anything to do with Thunder, it's just they put it in there just to have Dino Thunder in a deck name. Anyway, that's actually very similar in playstyle to the Dark Scorpion deck. It's very, very academic. You use it to run over monsters with a Guaiba, and then you special summon a monster from your deck, or you combine it with, Survival of the Fittest in order to gain a little bit advantage. Once again, those 2-card combos are really, really important to that deck, and eventually you'll whittle down your opponent's resources and gain enough resources in order to sit on a Logia or a Dolka, and from there you basically can control the game. So those are a couple of examples of decks that I really like. The thing about academic decks is, besides improving your skill by making you utilize your game mechanics and your resources really well, is they're a lot of fun to play, and that's why they're important to business casual play. One of the focuses of business casual is playing on a high level of skill, but also having a lot of fun and being very creative. And academic decks tend to be very creative. They're an easy way to make a new deck. They're an easy way to get into deck building as well. If you take a basic anti-meta set of cards, add in an engine from something that you just happen to want to use, and a win condition, you basically have a deck that's usable that allows you to tweak around with it and adjust it for the meta and play on a competitive level and have some fun in the meantime. They're very good for teaching people how to play. They're good when you get tired of the meta and you make just a few academic decks among you and your friends, and you can just play against those, and those tend to be extremely skillful matches. They tend to be a little bit slow because academic decks, once again, mostly are very control or stun based, but they tend to be a lot of fun. They're very skillful, and they're a great way to improve your skill as a player. And I'd argue that they're one of the best ways if you can't go to, a regional every Saturday or something like that. So let's see, I've gone through how to make them, why they're important to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual, and I have told you what they are and how they improve your skills. So that's pretty much all I've got for you guys on academic decks. I really hope you guys like this. I will be showing you guys one of my own personal academic decks this week, which is my Spirit Control deck. And I'll talk to you guys about how that kind of improves my skill and just how I went about making the deck when I make the video. Meanwhile, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, let me know why in the comment section below, as always. And then subscribe for more decks, analysis, discussion, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Meanwhile, thank you guys for watching Yu-Gi-Oh! And Business Casual. I am your host, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.